Okay, so it has started recording. So welcome back. Where are we now? We have finished the first three chapters, and I said we will skip 4 and 5 and get into chapter 6. So this is about complex measures, and as you told me last time, the main result is Radon-Nikodym theorem. But today let's start with some basic things. Okay. So what we will do today is, Suraj, maybe you can mute. What we will do today is we will introduce we will introduce complex measures, and we will introduce the notion of basically, we want to consider the space of all complex measures, which is obviously a vector space, and we want to make it a non-linear space. You want to put a norm, and that's called the total variation. So let's introduce that today, and let me start sharing the screen. So, yeah, can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll make it full view. All right, fine. So, complex measures, this is chapter 6. Okay, we are starting chapter 6. So, what you have is a measure space, xm mu, and now we are, so up to now we took mu from m valued where up to now?
Positive real number.
Well, not quite positive real numbers, but
Extended.
extended, yeah. 0 and infinity both included. Okay, and measure means countably additive and not identically infinity. This was our definition. And now we are going to take valued in complex numbers. In particular, infinity is not allowed, right? A complex number is a finite complex number. Okay, so it's a measure, so it's additive. So what does that mean? If E is a countable disjoint union of EI, then what will happen? Mu of E is summation mu of EI, right? This is the meaning of additivity. But now, mu of E, what can mu of E be? It's a complex number, right? It's a complex number. In particular, it's not infinity. So what that means is summation mu EI should converge and should give you this finite value mu E. So the convergence of the right hand side is inbuilt. Okay, it's part of your. So when you say mu is a measure, complex measure, it is understood that summation mu of EI will converge. Okay, whenever you have a disjoint union of EI, disjoint union EI from M, then the summation should converge. Okay, this is crucial and it's going to play an important role in deducing some things, convergence of the sum, and also any rearrangement, right? So, because if you write E as E1 union E2 or E2 union E1, it's the same E, right? The left hand side is the same. So mu of E1 plus mu of E2 plus etc. is same as mu of E2 plus mu of E1 plus etc. Any rearrangement. Okay, and this is part of the definition. So if you have a series and any rearrangement, if you know convergence, then you know a bit more about the convergence. No, what can you say?
Absolutely convergent.
It's absolutely convergent. Okay, so the series converges absolutely. This much we know. It is part of the definition. Keep this in mind. And we are going to introduce, given a complex measure, we are going to introduce a positive measure associated to it, and this is called the total variation measure. So for a complex measure mu, we are going to define mod mu. This is a notation. Mod mu is positive, right? If z is a complex number, mod z is positive. So keep that analogy. If f is a complex valued function, mod f is a positive valued function, and mod mu is going to be a positive measure. And this is the definition. If you take E, you write in all possible ways E as a union of disjoint union of EI in all possible ways. Such a thing Rudin calls a partition. Okay, partition of E is a EI which are disjoint and union is E. Then you say that EI is the sets EI form a partition of E. So you write E as you take a partition of E and do summation mod mu ei and take the supremum. Where is the supremum being taken?
On partition of E.
Oh, yeah, on partitions of E, you take the supremum. Okay. And the first observation, not observation, we will prove it, is that, can you guess what the statement is going to be? Mod mu is?
Measure.
Is a measure. So you have to prove countable additivity and you have to also show that it's not identically infinity. Okay, but not identically infinity is clear because on empty set it is 0. So we will show that it's countably additive. Then it will be a positive measure, right? Because the right hand side, the summation, they're all non-negative. So it will be a positive measure. Is infinity allowed? Is infinity, can it be infinity mod mu of E?
No.
Why not? Because
It's some
complex measure.
no, mu is a complex measure, but this is not mu, right? This is mod mu I am defining. I'm taking summation mod mu ei. So what you know is that summation mu ei is finite, but summation mod mu ei, well, that also is finite because earlier you said it is absolutely convergent, right? That's okay. So for one partition, it's a finite number, but when you take supremum, it may go higher and become infinity, no?
No, but we are taking.
I agree that summation mod mu ei is finite, but it may become unbounded when you take various.
Yes, sir, it can, because we are supremum. Yes, sir.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility. You can't rule out, right? Supremum of the set 1, 2, 3, etc. is infinity, no? Right?
Yes.
But what you said first is correct, okay? But for a non-obvious reason, we will prove it. We will prove that mod mu is finite, okay? So first thing is, if lambda is any positive measure, and then if you take lambda e, which will be summation lambda ei, this is bigger than or equal to summation. Yeah, if lambda is any positive measure such that this is true, lambda of e is bigger than or equal to summation of mod mu ei for every partition of any e, if this is true, then you check that lambda of e is bigger than or equal to mod mu of e. Okay, so basically we are saying that this way of defining satisfies a minimality condition. Okay, mod mu is the minimal measure which has the property that mod mu of e is bigger than or equal to summation mod mu ei for any partition. Okay, check this anyway, it's not difficult at all. So you check this, and first claim is that mod mu is a measure, and second claim is that this is called the total variation of mu, and the second claim is that mod mu is finite. On the whole set it is finite, so it is bounded. Okay, mod mu is a bounded positive measure. It's not obvious, right? Because as we said, supremum could have been infinity, but we are going to prove that it is finite. Okay, so yeah, so convergence is inbuilt. That will play a role, of course, in doing that. So we will prove only these two things today, and let's do one by one. So first claim, what is the first claim? Mod mu is a measure, right? So you have to show countable additivity. That's enough, no? Then you have to also show that it's not identically infinity. That's obvious because on empty set it's 0. So let E be a disjoint union of EI. And what do you have to show? You have to show that mu of E equal to summation, not mu of E. You have to show that mod mu of E equal to summation mod mu of EI, right?
Yes.
That's what we have to show. So we will show less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. Okay. So choose Ti in R such that Ti is less than mod mu of EI. Okay. Ti is less than mod mu of EI. Mod mu of EI by definition is the supremum, right? So you can always take No, whatever mod mu of EI is, it's going to be non-negative, right? So you always take a real number less than that. It can be a negative number. Okay. So choose Ti, which is strictly less than mod mu of EI. Okay. Now mod mu of EI is certain supremum. So our standard argument. What is our standard argument? It is the least upper bound of something, and you are taking Ti to be lower than that. So what is the conclusion? Ti is?
There exists an
Yeah,
partition.
so Ti is not an upper bound for those summations over partitions. Ti is not an upper bound, which means there exists a partition. There exists a partition of EI such that Ti is not an upper bound. So Ti is less than summation, right? So since Ti is not an upper bound, we get a partition, let's say Aij of EI such that Ti is less than summation mod mu Aij, summation is over J. You agree with this?
Yes.
Yes.
There is a typo, one bracket missing here. I will change it later. Okay, good. You agree? That's because the definition is least upper bound and Ti is lower. Okay, now you take summation Ti. So what can you say about summation Ti? Summation Ti is less than summation over I, summation over J, mu of Aij, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, which is less than or equal to mod mu of E. Why is that? What is mod mu?
Because it is supremum of all that.
Yeah, mod mu
All
of
AIs.
E is mod mu of E is supremum of summation any partition. But the Aij's together will be a partition, no, of E. Aij as both I and J vary will be a partition of E, right? Because E is a partition of E. EI is a partition of E and Aij is a partition of EI. So all the Aij together is a partition of E, right? You
Yes.
agree? And it is the supremum, which is mod mu E. Therefore, this is less than or equal to mod mu of E. Okay. Now what will you do? Now what you can do is you can take supremum over this inequality. You take the collection of all possible such Ti and take the supremum. If this is true for all such Ti, then it is true for the supremum also, no? Yes. Therefore, what is the conclusion? Conclusion is that but what will be the supremum? For all possible Ti's, if you take the supremum, what is the supremum? It is mod mu of EI, right? So this is takes sup over all possible Ti, and therefore you will get summation mod mu of EI, right? Ti you are taking supremum. So mod mu of EI summation is less than or equal to mod mu of E. You agree with this step? This you have got whenever Ti is less than this, and when you take supremum, summation mod mu EI is the supremum of these things, and that is also less than or equal to mod mu of E. What do you have to show? We have to show that mod mu of E equal to summation mod mu of EI, and you have shown one inequality. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's show the other inequality. Mod mu of E is bigger than this. For the other way,
Sir,
yeah.
sir, you've taken supremum over this infinite sum, right? Summation I
Supremum
is equal to
over collection, this collection Ti.
Okay.
Okay, so you take, see, for each Ti you are taking Ti less than that, right? And so you got a sequence Ti. You take
Yes.
supremum over that collection. Then summation Ti, the sup will be summation mod mu EI, no?
Okay.
Okay, so that's how you get this inequality. For the other way, you take any partition of E. Let Aj be any partition. So fix one partition, and that is arbitrary. And you can do the following. You take summation of mod mu Aj over J, and that is summation over J modulus of summation over I mu of Aj intersection EI. Why is that? Because if Aj is a partition of E, you have already taken EI to be a partition of E, right? That's where you have started.
Yes.
EI is a partition of E. So if AJ is a partition of E, then AJ intersection EI is a partition of AJ, right?
Yes. Yes.
And therefore mu of AJ will be summation over I mu of AJ intersection EI. Additivity. Okay.
Yes, a complex measure.
Yeah, it's a measure, additivity. What is the next step? Equal to has become less than or equal to, and the modulus has gone inside. So why is that?
Because sum of the modulus of sum is less than sum of modulus.
Modulus of sum is less than or equal to sum of modulus. Okay. So is it just triangle inequality or a bit more than that? It's a bit more than that, but that's also true, right? You know that the modulus
Triangle
of the
inequality in infinite case. Infinite case.
it is true. It is true in the infinite case also, and it is more generally true for integral itself, right? So in particular for summation. So this is true. Summation I this thing. And what is the next step? What is the difference between this and this?
Change over sum.
Interchange.
And what is the justification for that?
Uniform convergence. Oh,
Rearrangement is possible.
Convergence.
Rearrangement is possible because
Absolutely convenient.
yeah, each term is positive. Whenever you have a double sum of positive quantities, you can rearrange. You can interchange the summation. Okay. So you do that, and now what is summation J mod mu of AJ intersection EI? Summation over J. Now AJ is a partition of E. So AJ intersection EI as J varies is a partition of EI, right? So mod mu EI, forget the summation, this much, mod mu EI is supremum over these things. Therefore, this is less than or equal to this, right? You agree? The highlighted thing is less than or equal to this because this is a supremum over those things. Okay, and therefore summation I. So this is less than or equal to this. Is that okay? Last step? Last step is the definition of mod mu is a supremum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so whatever partition you take, you know that summation J mod mu AJ is less than or equal to summation mod mu EI. So what is the next step? Take supremum over these partitions of E. So taking sup over partitions of E, what will you get? What will be the left hand side when you take sup over these?
Mod mu E.
Mod mu of E, and that will be less than or equal to summation I mod mu of EI. This is the other inequality. So you have proved that mod mu is a measure. Mod mu of empty set is clearly 0, no? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Because empty set, the partition is empty set only, and mu of that is 0. That's okay. Okay, so this is the first claim. Mod mu is a measure. And now, you know, this is something which I must have seen long ago when I taught this course long back, but I had completely forgotten. I'm not going to prove it, you know. I mean, if you're interested, you look at Rudin. But this has nothing to do with measure theory. It's just an elementary statement. If you have n complex numbers, and if you then you know there exists a subset of this, of the set of indices, such that if you sum over that subset and take the modulus, that is bigger than or equal to 1 by pi times summation of the modulus. You know that modulus of sum is less than or equal to sum of the modulus. That's triangle inequality, right? This is the opposite inequality, but under this, you know, there exists some subset of the indexing set so that the modulus of the sum is bigger than or equal to the whole sum. This is 1 to n, whereas this is a subset. S is a subset. There exists such an S such that this summation is bigger than or equal to summation modulus times 1 by pi. Have you seen this before?
No.
No, sir.
But it's interesting, right? So for a proof, you check Rudin. It's an elementary argument, but a very, very ingenious argument. Okay, we are going to use this in the next research. I'm not proving this because this has nothing to do with measure theory. Okay, we are going to use this elementary lemma And the second claim is that, what is the second claim? Just recall the second claim.
Mod mu is finite.
Meaning mod mu of x is finite, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mod mu of x.
Mod mu is bounded. On the whole x it is finite, therefore on any measurable set it is finite by monotonicity, because we have already shown that mod mu is a measure. Okay, so we are going to do a general argument. Suppose E is any measurable such that mod mu of E is finite. Okay, and then I'm going to conclude something. In fact, I'm going to conclude that I can write E as A disjoint union B with some properties. Okay, so let's do that. And I'm going to choose T to be pi times 1 plus mod mu E. You can see that pi there, no? So why such
Yes,
a
sir,
choice?
we are going to use.
I'm going
We are
to
going to use that here.
Okay, so I want something to be bigger than 1 or something, so that pi is there. You will see. Okay, so pi times 1 plus 1 plus, this is modulus of mu of E. This is different. This is mod mu of E. This is modulus of mu of E. Choose T to be this. This is given to us. Infinity is mod mu E. But what is the definition of mod mu E?
Sup of.
Sup
Summation
over
mod
partitions. Partitions. Summation mod mu EI, right? Over partitions of E. This is what it is. And therefore, what can you conclude? You can conclude that there exists. So there exists a partition such that summation mod mu EI is bigger than any number that you give me, right?
Sir, these partitions are countable.
These partitions are countable. Yeah, I is always 1 to infinity. Yeah, all countable partitions. But in the definition of partition, it is countable. Disjoint union of countable measurable sets. Okay, good that you asked. So if the sup over partitions of this sum is infinity, then you can say that if you give me a number, I can find a partition such that the summation of mod mu I is bigger than that number, right?
Yes, sir, always.
Okay, always. Now there is this T, so I can find a partition such that summation I going from 1 to infinity mod mu I is bigger than that T, right?
Yes.
But you will also agree that I can find a partition such that summation, this partition itself, for which the infinite sum is bigger than T. If infinite sum is bigger than T, then for some large enough n, the finite sum up to n is also bigger than T, no?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so that's what we are going to use. We get a partition EI such that for large enough n, there exists n such that summation I going from 1 to n of mod mu I is bigger than this T. Agree? For some n. And large enough. Yeah?
Yes. Okay.
Now let's do the following. Let's apply the previous lemma. So this is summation of modulus. So there is a subset S such that, what is the lemma? Summation over S mu EI. Modulus of summation over S mu EI is bigger than or equal to 1 by pi summation 1 to n mod mu EI. Agree? Is exactly that lemma. Because mu EI is some complex number.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the way I have chosen T, what can you say? This is bigger than or equal to T by pi, right? Strictly bigger than T by pi.
Yes.
T by pi is bigger than 1.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So this is what you have. Now I'm going to take set A to be union over this SEI. EI is a partition, so these are all disjoint unions. So what is summation mu EI in terms of this notation?
Mu of A.
Mu of A, right? So what you have done is mod of mu of A is bigger than 1. So what you have shown is there exists A contained in E such that mod of mu A is bigger than 1. Agree?
Yes.
Take A to
Yes.
be this union over this subset. Using that lemma, you get a subset and take this union, and then mod of mu A is bigger than 1. Now I am going to analyze the complement of A in E. So take B to be E minus A. And I'm interested in mod of mu B. I'm going to claim that mod of mu B is also bigger than 1. We concluded that mod of mu A is bigger than 1. Now I'm going to claim that mod of mu B is also bigger than 1. But what is mod of mu B? What is mu of B in terms of E and A?
Mu of E minus mu of A.
Mu of E minus mu of A and modulus, right?
Modulus. Yes.
Okay. And this is some complex number, right? Mu E is a complex number, mu A is a complex number, difference is a complex number, modulus is a positive number, right? Non-negative number. Agree?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now I am going to claim that, so you can apply the reverse triangle inequality, no? What will you get? This is bigger than or equal to
Modulus of mu E minus modulus of mu E.
modulus mu E minus modulus mu E, right?
Yes.
Modulus of modulus mu E minus modulus mu E. Now that is certainly bigger than or equal to this, no? Modulus mu A minus modulus mu E.
Yes.
Right? You will get this is bigger than or equal to modulus of modulus mu E minus modulus mu A. Why is that bigger than or equal to this?
Because modulus is less than, so it will
Inequality
be
is heavy,
sandwich
complex
between modulus of that mu E minus mu A and
So I'm saying that yeah, I'm only saying that mod x is bigger than or equal to x and minus x, right?
yes.
So that's all that I'm saying. So this is true. And now mod a is bigger than or equal to 1, no? No, mod mu a is bigger than or equal to 1, right? Mod mu a is bigger than 1, not bigger than or equal to, strictly bigger than 1, right? And mod mu e, what do you know? It is t by pi minus 1, right? No, mod mu e is what? T by pi minus 1. So use all that. This is bigger than, no, sorry. I used mod mu a is bigger than 1, but before that I have concluded it's actually bigger than t by pi itself. Forget bigger than 1. Stop here. This is mod mu a, right? This is mod mu a, which I know is actually bigger than t by pi, not just bigger than 1.
Yes.
So use that. So it is t by pi minus mod mu e. But what is mod mu e? Mod mu e is t by pi minus 1. So this is t by pi minus of t by pi minus 1, which is 1. So this is why t was chosen so carefully. Okay. So what did you conclude? You have concluded that E is A union B. Is that a disjoint union?
Yes.
Yes.
By definition, a disjoint union such that mod of mu A is bigger than 1 and mod of mu B is bigger than 1. All this you have shown under the assumption. What was your starting assumption? This was possible because of your assumption. What is assumption?
That modulus mu of E is infinite.
Mod mu of E is
infinite.
infinity. So whenever mod mu of E is infinity, you can partition E as A union B disjoint, so that mod mu of A and mod mu of B both are bigger than 1. This is what we have proved, right? And this is obvious, right? One of them has to be infinity, no? Mod mu of A or mod mu of B. Why?
Because mod mu of E is infinite.
Because if both were finite, though some will be finite. So
Yes,
Neither
because
mu
mod mu
finite.
is a measure, which we have already proved. Right? Additivity is true for mod mu. It's a measure, and therefore one of them is infinity is clear. And by some argument we have proved that both this is bigger than 1. Now we want to show that mod mu of x is finite. You can finish the proof. Go ahead. What is the proof? Suppose not. Suppose not, and then what is the conclusion from the previous slide?
We can take intersection of this with another.
No. You apply that previous claim to x itself. Suppose not, so that mod mu of x is infinity, right? And whenever you have a measurable set, so that mod mu is infinite, what is the?
You can find two set AB.
You can write x as disjoint union of two sets.
AB. So
both have
of A.
Right, A union B. Mod of mu A is bigger than 1. Mod of mu B is bigger than 1. And mod mu of A is infinity, or mod mu of B is infinity. Right?
Yes.
Therefore, by the previous slide, if this is not true, you get x is A1 union B1 disjoint with mod of mu of A1 is bigger than 1 and mod mu of B1 is infinity. Agree? Whichever is infinity, you call that B1 and the other one is A1. Is this okay?
Okay.
Okay, now tell me what is the next step, obvious next step. From the notation A1 and B1, you know what to do. By the subscript 1.
Again, take A1 as A2,
Take
B2.
what? A2, B2 for what? Where are you applying the previous slide? What is your E now?
B1.
B1.
Because at least one mu mod mu A1 is finite now. So we can apply it at mod mu A again.
No. I'm saying that mod mu of B1 is infinite, right? So you can write B1 as union of disjoint union of two sets. What will you call those? B1 you write as? What should be the correct notation? Good notation.
A2 union B2.
Absolutely. B1 you write as A2 union B2 disjoint, and the properties. What is your notation?
Again,
which is A2, which is B2? Mod mu of A2 is bigger than 1 and mod mu of B2 is infinity.
Yes.
Now you will take B2 and write it as A3 union B3 and continue this process. So what will you get? You will get, by the countable additivity of mu, you will get mu of union AI is summation mu of AI, right? These sets AI you have formed, the sets BI you have formed, and you take AIs are all disjoint, no?
Yes.
Because A2 is contained in B1, which is disjoint from A1. A3 is contained in B2, which is disjoint from A2. So AI is a disjoint. Therefore, mu of union AI is summation mu AI. But what do you know about the right-hand sum?
Infinite.
AI is a measurable. Therefore, union AI is measurable because it's a sigma algebra. So mu of union AI should be a finite number, complex number. But the right-hand side, is that finite or infinite?
No, it is not absolutely. Yeah.
It is not convergent. It's not convergent because each term, the absolute value is bigger than 1. Each term absolute value is bigger than 1. Whereas if you have a convergent, if summation an is convergent, then limit an has to be 0. So mod an cannot be bigger than 1. So because of this, the series doesn't converge. This is a contradiction. And the contradiction is because you assume mod mu of x is infinite. So this shows the second claim, mod mu is finite. Okay, so it's a nice argument. Okay, so it's not obvious that mod mu is finite, but now we have proved it. Okay. Now you consider the collection of all complex measures on M. How do you define the addition of two measures? If lambda and mu are complex measures, what is lambda plus mu? Lambda plus mu of E is lambda of E plus mu of E. It's easy to check the definition. It's countable additive. Similarly, scalar multiplication you define. So it is a complex vector space. You agree? It's a vector space over complex numbers. I want to make it a norm-linear space, and this is my definition of the norm. Norm of mu is the total variation of the full set. And you have to check that this is after all finite, no? So norm should be a finite thing, and this is true. And you can check the properties of the norm from the definition of total variation. Okay, check this. So this, if you define with this norm, it's a norm linear space. So you have got a norm linear space, collection of all complex measurable space is a norm linear space where the norm is the total variation. Okay, there's a small thing to check that it's a norm, triangle inequality, and norm is 0 if and only if the vector is 0. All these things you check. Okay, now let me just recall, this is the very first lecture, page 16. We proved that lim sup and lim inf and sup inf of measurable is measurable, and in particular we took f plus to be maximum of f0 and f minus to be minus of minimum of f0, so that you can write f as f plus minus f minus and mod f as f plus plus f minus. You remember this?
Yes, sir.
And we had, an obvious minimality condition. If you write f as difference of two positive functions, then f plus is less than or equal to g and f minus is less than or equal to h. This was also easy. This was the very last slide of the very first lecture. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this measurable function we are going to replace with measure. And we are going to get a very similar thing. So this is called the Jordan decomposition of measures. For this, you assume that mu is a real measure. So what is a real measure? Real measure. So set of all real measures is a sub collection of set of all complex measures, right? Because R is contained in C. But remember, it's not a sub collection of positive measures. Why not? Because positive measure. Positive measure. Yeah, this can take negative. Yeah, correct. What I want. OK, that is correct. This can take negative. Now, positive measures is not a sub collection of real measures. Why?
Because
They can take infinity as well.
Because positive measure can take infinity according to our definition. OK, so this is a real measure. And I'm going to define, this is called a real measure, or some people call it a signed measure, because sign can be positive or negative. And we are going to define mu plus to be mod mu plus mu by 2, because mu is a measure, mod mu is a measure, sum is a measure, divided by 2 is a measure, mu minus is to be this. So these are also measures, but now these are positive measures. Is it clear that this is positive, mu plus and mu minus? Mod mu is the total variation of mu. Is it clear that these are positive? What is the definition of mod mu? Mod mu of E is supremum over partition summation mod mu EI. So in particular, mod mu of E is bigger than mod of mu E, right?
Yes,
E itself is a partition. So mod mu of E is bigger than mod of mu E, that you know. So is it that's enough to show that mod mu plus mu and mod mu minus mu are positive?
Yes,
you want,
because first is always better than second. So
you want to show that mod mu of E plus mu of E is positive. So you want to show that mod mu of E is bigger than minus of mu E. But you know that mod mu of E is bigger than mod of mu E. So mod of mu E is bigger than mu E and minus mu E. And from these two, it follows that mu plus and mu minus are positive measures. Positive real measures actually, because the right hand sides are real measures. So this will be finite. You agree? Now the way you have defined. So in the previous slide here, your definition of f plus and f minus was something else. Okay, finally you got this. Here it is slightly different. Mod mu you had already defined, and from that, these are bounded positive measures, and it follows that. So these are called positive and negative variations. Mod mu is total variation, mu plus is called the positive variation, and mu minus is called the negative variation. And you have mu is mu plus minus mu minus, the way you have defined, and mod mu is mu plus plus mu minus. This is what is called the Jordan decomposition of a sign measure. Okay, write mu as mu plus minus mu minus. This is called the Jordan decomposition. Can you guess my next line? Looking at this slide, can you Take a guess. What should be the next plane?
If there is any another means decomposition.
Yeah. So if you can write mu as nu minus psi, let us say, where nu and psi are, mu is a real measure. Suppose you can write mu as nu minus psi, where nu and psi are
Positive real means.
Positive and
positive
negative base.
real measures. Then what should be the inequality?
Then that mu plus should be less than.
Less than or equal to nu, and mu minus should be less than or equal to psi. This is also true.
Modulus of.
This is also true. If mu is nu minus psi, nu greater than or equal to 0, psi greater than or equal to 0, then mu plus is less than or equal to nu, and mu minus is less than or equal to psi. In the function case, it was obvious. It was some elementary argument. Here we need a theorem. So this we are going to prove later. Okay, this is purely by analogy. You guessed this, and that's correct. And this is a corollary to what is called the Hahn decomposition theorem. Have you heard the mathematician's name Hahn? Of course you have heard. Where did you hear?
Yes, in
Han
function.
Hahn-Banach extension.
Hahn-Banach theorem. Okay, so here is another theorem due to Hahn decomposition theorem. It's a result about real measures, and a corollary, an immediate corollary to Hahn decomposition theorem is exactly this statement. So this is a minimality condition, right? Mu plus and mu minus are minimal for this property. Mu is mu plus minus mu minus, and mu plus and mu minus are minimal for this property. Whenever you write nu minus psi, mu plus and mu minus are minimal. Okay, so a certain minimality condition, and this is called the Jordan decomposition, and the minimality is a corollary to what is called the Hahn decomposition theorem. I think that's all that I have prepared for today. So we are ending much earlier. Yeah, is there a question?
No, sir.
So, sir,
Okay.
here this
Yeah.
this Jordan decomposition will be unique, right? Because of minimality.
Jordan decomposition is unique.
Yeah.
Because of the minimality condition.
Okay.
Actually, Jordan decomposition is unique anyway, because this is the definition of Jordan decomposition. Mu plus and mu minus are defined, no? And this is the definition of Jordan decomposition.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is Jordan
Different.
decomposition. But even if you say this is Jordan decomposition, no, I'm not calling this Jordan decomposition. I'm calling this Jordan decomposition. So it's
Yes.
unique, but it's unique even without this minimality condition. It's unique because that's how you have defined it.
Yes, yes. Okay.
What is Jordan decomposition in linear algebra?
Matrices.
Matrix JCF.
Matrices over complex numbers, let's say. What do you get?
You can write as a means Jordan blocks.
Yes.
Jordan.
So
Upper or
in
lower
terms of
triangle
matrices, correct, in Jordan blocks, right? Now, if you have a Jordan block, you can think of it as product of two matrices, no?
Yes.
If you have a Jordan block, it's product of two matrices, where one matrix will be diagonal, right? And the other matrix will have the property that all the diagonal elements are 1, right?
Yes.
Jordan block will have some numbers in the diagonal, right? Those you take out, and you can write 1 on the diagonal in the next matrix, right?
Yes.
Anyway, I mean, this we are just chatting. Let me stop sharing the screen. And I can also stop recording, and we will talk for some time and stop. Okay. So let me stop recording.